Hello, 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 and welcome. This is Her Talk Show. My name is Sabrina Victoria, and I am here with Daisy Lopez. We are going to be talking all about growing a movement with your voice and your message. I freaking love this. So get comfortable as we explore the triumphs and the challenges faced by women worldwide. We're going to be offering insights and inspiration to fuel not only your personal, but also your professional brand. Let's jump right in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
All right, if you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We are here every day delving deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership. With some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed over 600 women at this point, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Daisy Lopez here. She is the founder of the Liberated Latina brand and podcast host of the Liberated Latina podcast. She's become most known for her inside-out approach to marketing, combining creative marketing strategy with vocal healing through vocal activation technique. Ooh, super interesting. Her work aims to equip female entrepreneurs with the tools to infuse their fullest expression into savvy marketing that grows global movements. I freaking love this. Welcome, lady.
Hello.
When's your birthday, by the way?
February 26th. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Cool. Yeah, February 26th. I'm a Pisces.
I love that. I was just watching this TikTok the other day on Leos. I'm a Leo. And they're always like, when you meet a Leo will tell you they're a Leo right away. And they love being on stages. They love attention. They love all this stuff. Anyways, that's what this reminded me of. I was like, ooh, I wonder if she's a Leo. Because I love this global movements. This is what I talk about all the time, global. One of my biggest pet peeves, no offense to you or anybody listening, is when people say, if I can just help one person, if I can just help one person. It's like, girl, what are you even doing with your life right now? Help one person. We're trying to make global movements. So I love the word usage here. I feel like we could take this in 1,000 different directions. First of all, how did you get into this?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, we definitely align in that sentiment. Actually, a lot of the people that I work with, they come to me because they're like, I don't want to just market for the viral views and like the vanity metrics, or even to get stuck in the hamster wheel of marketing, or you're just like posting to post and you're just like checking off the box like, oh, it's Wednesday, I posted today. A lot of my clients are like, what is all of this even for if I'm not leveraging this tool to reach people that I wouldn't otherwise use if I was doing kind of like word of mouth marketing and just staying local? So I definitely align with you on that sentiment, because it's like, why are we even using these global platforms if we're not planning on taking this to the moon? Like, why are we even doing this? So I love that you mentioned that, because I definitely vibe with you there. How I started this, I needed it myself. I needed this work myself. I am a first generation Cuban American. So if anybody else is first gen, let me know in the comments. First gen Cuban American. And there's just, I just feel like most of my life I was in this internal struggle. And for a long time, I felt like I was alone in this. But the more that I talk about it, the more that people raise their hand and say, I felt that too. So if anybody relates to this, I always kind of saw myself doing something big, or being part of something big, creating something, starting a business, like being part of something big. And of course, when I was little, that was like being a Disney Channel star. And then that changed into, like maybe I'll just be part of a really cool organization. And then it became, oh, I'm creating that organization. But at the same time, for as long as I could remember, I always very much struggled with using my voice and speaking up. So I was in this frustration of, I see myself doing something big and I feel that's true, but I can't even go to the front of my class and give a presentation without literally shaking, like blood rushing to my face. I just couldn't understand how those two worlds could exist. And for a long time, it made me feel like that just wasn't going to be possible. Maybe I always kind of got in the way of myself. Mm-hmm. So, I followed kind of like the path that would mean I was successful. I got the degree, valedictorian of my high school, went away to college and got the scholarships, got the fancy corporate job that everyone told me would make me happy with the benefits and the retirement. And I was miserable, absolutely miserable. And I could feel myself. It sounds dramatic, but the girls that know, it literally feels like you're dying because you're just spending this time doing something and in a space where you're not meant to be, you're not doing what you're really put on this earth to do. And yeah, the pay comes in and that's great, but it just didn't mean anything. So February 14th of 2019, I left my job. I resigned. It was my last day. And then, as we all know, a month later, the world shut down. So that really gave me a push to embark on this journey of entrepreneurship. And the biggest thing that got in my way was marketing and putting myself out there. Like, I kind of knew what to do. I have a business degree. Like, that was clear. But actually getting me to do it and putting myself out there and speaking, it was a full body shutdown. So that really set me off on this journey of trying to figure out, okay, I feel so disconnected from my voice, but I feel so connected to this mission of what I want to do in the world. And so I had to kind of look outside the surface level, journal prompts. I needed something deeper to be able to not get in the way of letting this brand and this mission come to life.
So when you first got into in 2020, what was the first, I guess, business that you created? Because I'm assuming it wasn't right away, build your voice and message, because that's the issue. That was the issue.
No, I was, so I actually got a health coaching certification while I was in corporate. So I thought I wanted to be a health coach because I was dealing with a whole bunch of health issues because of the burnout and the just not being happy with life. As we know, that creates a lot of disease in the body. So I got my health coaching certification while I was still in my consulting role. I left. I quickly realized, like literally day 3, I didn't want to be a health coach. So I decided to start helping. It was kind of like a Latina empowerment type of thing. So I didn't even have the Liberated Latina brand name yet, but I was wanting to help girls around my age make that shift from corporate to starting their own business, or even making that job leap into something different. So that's what it started as. And then quickly, as I was helping Latinas make that shift from corporate to business, people really started coming to me more for marketing. And when I dug deeper, it wasn't that they didn't know what to do. It was this piece of putting themselves out there. So it's kind of like this cool mirroring, right? Of like, oh, you guys are coming to me for this, but I'm struggling with this myself. So that was where I started, looking for other modalities. I got into somatic or body-based work. And then vocal activation technique became kind of like me piecing the most effective elements that really helped me over the past 2.5 years of doing this work into this practice that, man, has just completely changed my life, and it's created such beautiful shifts in my clients as well.
That's awesome. I think it's great that you started in health and wellness. So did I, a long time ago.
Are you IIN graduate? Did you go to IIN or no?
No, I was doing more fitness. So I was NASM.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
With a twist of, I talked about health and wellness, or foods and stuff, but I didn't actually sell anything regarding foods. So, but I did it for a lot longer than 3 days. Why only 3 days? Like, what was the? Not actually 3 days, but
Yeah. It was just quickly as I was putting things together and like ideal client and just getting the building blocks together. My heart wasn't really in it.
Wow.
I kind of was doing it because I had the certification, but I just realized my heart was just in a different space.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you're saying this because I think so often there are women that jump from corporate into something that they think they want to get into, and then just something isn't working, something's not aligned. But because they have the certs, because they have the education, because whatever the thing is, they try to push it, and it's just literally not creating anything because they don't want to make content on it. They're bored about it. It's nothing that lights them up. It doesn't spark anything. And then, but they stay because they feel like if they pivot, then they're throwing money away or they're a failure, right? Because they can't stay focused on one singular thing. So I love so early in your journey, you pivoted. Actually, you mentioned 3 pivots. You mentioned health and wellness, then just marketing, business in general, or no, Latina, right? Empowerment, which then led into more of an entrepreneurship. So you actually did 3 pivots within a short amount of time. And I think that's really important to mention, because if we don't just jump into it and just start, you'll never know where you're supposed to end up. So we have all these thoughts like, I want to be a yoga instructor. I want to be a yoga instructor. I want to be a yoga instructor. But you were never meant to be a yoga instructor. You're actually meant to be, who knows what you were meant to be. But because you never jump into yoga instructor, you never get to go on that journey of whatever it is you were actually supposed to do. And then it becomes this like heaviness of, oh, I wish I would have, I wish I would have, I wish I would have. But that wasn't even the thing.
Yeah. And it was also an interesting lesson in entrepreneurship. I think we forget, right? Because there's also a lot of language out there on do what you feel called to do what you want. And yes, right, there was an initial feeling of, okay, health coaching is not really the thing, like my heart's not in it. But then as I was making those pivots, they were telling me, like my clients were telling me what they really needed, right? It was the marketing. And then as I dug a little bit deeper and we were working on marketing strategy, then it got a little more, okay, it's actually, you give me the plans, but then why is it so hard to actually execute? What's getting in the way? So it's also, you know, always kind of balancing that line as an entrepreneur of what is it that you feel called to do, but then also let your people tell you what they need, because that's where that magic happens.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. Can you talk a little bit about somatic and body-based work regarding what we're talking about here, voice and messaging?
Yeah. So I guess I'll start by contrasting it with mindset. Now, it's never an either or situation. Like both have their role and their function, but a lot of entrepreneurs are definitely well versed in mindset, right? You're working with your thoughts and trying to shift your thoughts at a mental level. Somatic, soma, body, relating to the body, basically is another way to take that work deeper. And if anyone's ever read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, then it's basically this idea that trauma is a little bit of a loaded word. So I'm going to use wounding just for the sake of this conversation. Wounding is stored in the body. So if you can think about, I'll take the example of me, like not even being able to speak in front of the class. If you think back to a really embarrassing moment or a moment where you still kind of think back to and you cringe, right? When you think about that, you maybe get visuals. Your body has reactions to even that memory. Maybe you get flutters in your stomach, or you get a little anxious. You start tapping. Your body is actually experiencing that moment of wounding still in the present. And the idea is that that's what actually keeps perpetuating and keeps that belief system alive in your body, is because we haven't fully processed that emotion of that time. Why does that happen? Well, if we're little, we might not have had the space and time to really process the emotions. We're little babies and little bodies, and we don't really know how to do that. And then also as we grow up, gosh, when do we have the time, right? We go through something difficult, it's like, all right, on to the next thing. Or we were raised by parents that also didn't have the luxury or resources to know how to properly process emotions. So essentially, I got into somatic work because I could feel that there was like biology happening when I was about to go live. My throat would, this is just true for me, right? My throat would quite literally clench up, where it was hard for me to even get those first few words out. My whole body would go like hot and cold. So I knew that there was something still alive in my body, no matter how many journal prompts I would do about I am powerful or like I can do this. There's something still not quite tapped into. So I started going into somatic work, and it basically uses three main ingredients, which is breath, sound, and movement. Well, look at that. You're using your body, right? The three ingredients of your body. And what it essentially does is unhooks or gently releases those balls of emotion that keep those barriers, those blocks alive in your present day. And I can't even fully explain in words what it feels like, but you can kind of think of it as that block opens up, it's almost like there's this surge of energy. There's this surge of life force of creativity. So a lot of my clients would be like, oh my gosh, I just went out and created like all this content. I recorded all these videos. I put together my workshop. I'm excited for my workshop now because we're getting to the true you underneath these belief systems that were alive in your body, but they're not quite actually true. The emotions are true. The stories are not.
Wow. So I think we can all understand what breath is. And I think we can all understand what movement is.
Mm-hmm.
What is sound? What does sound look like?
Sound in the context of somatic work can be anything. So we essentially work with an active belief system that the client is experiencing. So if I'm talking to a client and they say, yeah, I'm having a really hard time going live. So we'll dig into that a little bit more, and they'll say, the main thought that keeps coming up is, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm talking about, or I need to get it perfect. Those are some big ones. So we will work with those belief systems. And oftentimes, as I talk to them, we'll kind of get a couple layers deeper, because oftentimes these started in childhood. So what did that actually start off as? Who made you feel like you needed to be perfect in order to be worthy of people's time, attention, right? There's like so much there. So when we go into vocal activation technique sessions, we're working with that thought. And the question or the prompt in these sessions is, what would this belief sound like? If this belief could make a sound, if this belief could move, if you could just be the expression of this belief, what would that sound like? And that's really up to the client. Sometimes it's a yell, sometimes it's like a growl, sometimes it's a whimper. It's really just allowing you to get out of the brain, because the brain's going to be like, this is weird, this is dumb, what am I doing? But your body, that's the way, it's the language of the body. So if we want to release it from the body, we have to use its ingredients. So that's kind of why we tie in sound as well. And also with the throat, that's how we kind of bring it up and out, right? When we think about even goal setting, people will say, I need to say this out loud so that I'm held accountable. Why? Because once you put it out there, it has more power. So bringing vocalization to these beliefs that have been ruling us for most of our lives is a really powerful ingredient of the work.
Nice. So when somebody starts working on this somatic, what is it, a technique?
Yeah.
Somatic technique and body-based work, what are some of the biggest shifts that you have seen your clients make with this work?
So, of course, I work with clients in a more business context, but how we do one thing is how we do everything, right? So, and on a business level, the shifts that I've seen are they'll quickly have these different opportunities to share their voice as they are working on this, because they're no longer getting in their way. So one of my clients was still in her corporate role. She wanted to transition to her business, but she needed it to match or what's the word, English word? Go beyond her salary. Yeah. Expand. So we were working on her marketing. Again, we ran up against some of these vocal blocks. So as we were doing that, she began to really come into her bold expression and started to kind of push the envelope on how she communicated her message. She was on a radio show in her community. She was on a TV segment, morning TV segment. And it's also not even just those opportunities, although those opportunities are amazing that they're able to kind of get those calls coming their way, but it's how they feel doing it. They feel a sense of rootedness. They feel secure and confident in who they are. And even if everything doesn't go perfectly, because as we know, things rarely do, they stay anchored. And I think that's when we talk about global movements, that's really the signature of leadership, right? Is really being able to be rooted and anchored in to your expression, the way you communicate, and being able to show up into any room that way. Personally, I can speak for myself as well. It's dramatically increased the quality of my relationships. I used to be the girl that was just like, fine, I'll take it. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to, piss people off. I don't want to start conflict. And it's gotten to the point where I'm able to voice needs, boundaries. I'm able to resolve conflict. And that's been super helpful, both in my most intimate relationships, but then also in business as well.
Forge. So when you're talking about these global movements and using these techniques to really start to communicate and touch an audience or a community, how is this related to like marketing? How is this related to Instagram?
Yes, I love this question. So if we think about when people talk about saturation and all the noise on the internet, what I often say is it's not really saturated. It's just a lot of dull noise. And the reason for that dull noise is that there's a real lack of true expression, creativity, and that comes from the voice. So if we think about creating content that really touches people, humans, on a deeper level than just like a nice fluffy bubblegum inspirational quote on a nice Canva graphic, right? We need to dig into something deeper than just a nice bubblegum graphic on a quote on a Canva graphic. So what I have often seen is it's not that people aren't creative. It's not that people aren't these true revolutionary leaders at heart. And it's not that they're not amazing at their work, because people that I work with, and I'm sure you work with as well, are incredible at what they do. They have so many years of experience. They bring this unique modality to the table, but they often feel like it doesn't translate. That's what I'll often hear. I don't feel like people understand what it is that I really do. I don't feel like people get how different this is, how impactful this is. And that's where we need our marketing to go deeper, because we need them to see that your work is deeper. And that starts with the voice. So using vocal activation technique, we actually get to access what is your voice, what is your real expression underneath all the conditioning and ways that you've been taught to be. Now that we have access to that, we put that into your marketing. So for example, now they're actually able to be the mouthpiece to be able to say the bold things. In my client's example, she was really afraid of, saying the wrong thing. She was afraid of, being too bold. And what if she says this thing and she leaves out these people? And there was just all this second guessing happening, but it actually allowed her to be a lot more bold and clear in her communication. So her Instagram posts were more effective and they were calling in the right people. We also think about visually. When you're tapped into your creativity, you're not just creating, templates, or you're not just using graphic templates that everyone else is using, but you're able to get a little bit more creative with your visuals, which now, especially on Instagram, is really making the difference to cut through the noise and hit people in a more emotional way that allows them to build deeper connection to your brand versus just something that they scroll past and double tap and never think about again.
So when you say tapped into versus just posting, what is the difference in the feeling of that? How does somebody know when they're actually tapped into like authenticity, let's say, versus just posting?
Numbness. I hear a lot of that people are just numb. They're showing up to get the job done. And listen, there are times where we need to just show up and get the job done, but it also shouldn't feel like, if we think about it, marketing is how we serve people on a daily basis. And think about your marketing as almost like a free offer. It gets to be that high value. It gets to be that impactful. So when people aren't fully creating, maybe they're just, churning out, but they're not really creating, they're not really speaking with their voice and expression, it kind of feels numb. They might feel like they're on autopilot. They're just kind of creating as they always have. A lot of people actually feel anger too, believe it or not. There's a lot of just anger of, why do I need to even do this? I shouldn't have to do this. I wish I could just outsource this and never have to market again. There's a lot of that anger and resentment. When somebody is tapped in, I'll use that language as well, kind of reiterate on what I said prior. When somebody's tapped in, it almost feels like a conversation. It feels like you're so connected to your people that you're able to serve and create and express, not because you need something, not because you need the likes, the comments, the follows, but because you're able to serve and communicate in a way that creates change, in a way that moves people on the other side.
Yeah. When we first jumped on, you said you were first generation Cuban.
Cuban American. Yeah.
Cuban American.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of culture conditioning around that, as far as being submissive or quiet. Yeah. How has your journey been, I guess, you personally, from maybe some culture conditioning to now this journey of voice and power and confidence and speaking?
Yeah, I really appreciate that question, Sabrina. Thank you for asking it. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot there culturally. There's a saying in Spanish that translates to, you look prettier when you're quiet. And it's often said to little girls. So that's that. So that's definitely there. And there was also just a lot of, there's a very patriarchal type of culture there as well. We call it like the machista culture, where it's like the man is the leader and you don't really approach him with emotions. There's kind of like this, in the name of respect, there's this way where you're not really free to express yourself. And I definitely felt that with my own dad growing up, where like I'm not really free to express myself and kind of have to keep it all together and stay quiet. And the adults are talking, like, stay quiet, know your place. So yeah, it was definitely a journey to reconcile with all of that, and to also feel like I'm going to excuse my French here, not shitting on my own culture by kind of coming out and saying, this is ridiculous, guys. Like, why are we saying this to little girls? Like, there's a way to have respect, but also be able to be expressed as women. So that was really a big part of my journey, is balancing the line of really loving and respecting my culture and my family history and holding on to that, but then also, having that delicate balance of, maybe this isn't what we need to pass on. And I look at my nieces that are, babies 5 and under, and it's also a balance there of like, okay, let's not recreate how we were raised. Let's talk to them and let's empower them in a different way. So that's definitely happening. Definitely a big change in my family structure as well, going through this work.
Yeah, that's great. It's such a good feeling when you see the cycles breaking.
Yeah.
Here and there. That's awesome. What are the changes that you're looking to see with the Liberated Latina?
Ooh.
What is the change? Like, we're talking about global change.
Yeah.
What are the changes that you are looking to actually make or see?
The vision for the Liberated Latina is to see women, and especially, I have a special heart for women of color from marginalized communities, to see women succeeding in business without losing who they are in the process. And that can look like, really trailblazing how they get their brands out there in creative ways, and communicating really powerful messaging through their marketing, through their campaigns, through their launches, seeing women yes, of course, grow their business revenue wise and profit wise, but then them also seeing their work take on new life with people sharing about it, people being impacted by their work. I just see a lot of women in my mind, right? It's kind of like the vision that it started on, was women just owning who they are and succeeding in business, but with the full essence of who they are, not feeling like they had to sell themselves out in order to win, the game of business.
Yeah, I totally get that. That's fabulous. What's your timeline for that?
Timeline? Let's see. I have a 5-year timeline. I got a 10-year timeline. But yeah, my next endeavor for the Liberated Latina are like live vocal marketing workshops. I'm really wanting to bring it into a live experience, getting women in a room doing vocal activation technique, but then also really honing in on our brand messaging and the movements that we're wanting to create, putting strategy behind it. So that's next.
That'll be good. I love it. I can see it for sure.
Thank you.
We have a ton of people watching live. Thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us. Obviously, we're getting a really good idea of who you are, what you help with. As far as those watching live, as far as those watching on the replay right now, who should be reaching out to you? Who do you help?
I love helping women creative entrepreneurs who know that they want their work to stand for something bigger than just a set of offers. They have a set of offers that they want to create a bigger movement from. So it's more about getting word out there and getting their work into the hands of more people that want it and need it. And also wanting to create community. That's a big thing for my clients, is they're not just wanting to gain a bunch of followers for the sake of it, but they're wanting to create a united community behind the mission of their brand, that are bought in, that are also people that help build that mission out, that share about it, that want to get other people involved in it. So those are really the entrepreneurs that I love helping, the ones that know that they have something really special, maybe something even a little, different that maybe people haven't heard about. I get it. I'm over here talking about somatics and marketing, so I get it. It's scary and it's vulnerable, but if you know that you have something really special and you're really good at it and you want to get into the hands of more people and you're ready to see that impact be the main driver of your business growth, and you want your marketing to speak to them in that way, then that's my zone. I love it.
That's awesome. Where can people find you? If someone's looking to follow you on social, look up some more information about you, where can people find you?
Yeah, I am the most active on Instagram. So you can find me at the Liberated Latina. I also, as you can tell, I'm a little verbose and a little long-winded. So I have a podcast called the Liberated Latina Podcast. And I also have a free 10-minute vocal activation warm-up if you're kind of curious about how that can even help and what that is. And you can do that. And when you go to my Instagram, you can just DM me and I'll send you the link for that free vocal activation warm-up exercise.
Gorgeous. And any closing thoughts?
I'm just so happy to be here. I have to kind of give you your flowers and give you your kudos. I think that this is an amazing platform. And as I was telling you before we jumped on, I was going through previous interviews and you have such amazing women on here. So thank you for being such an advocate for women's voices and giving us this platform. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Big vision for her nation, a global vision for her nation. We actually just made it official this year. So we're officially Her Nation Global. Yeah, we were we were doing business under a different name since 2021. So definitely going all in on Her Nation and the impact that we have that we're looking to make within generations, generations to come. So it's great.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We love to connect people here on this platform. So those of you that are listening live or on the replay, Daisy can be found predominantly on Instagram, the Liberated Latina. Thank you so much, lady, for being here, sharing your wisdom, inspiring us all. If you are still here listening live, be sure to follow, like, and share. Thank you for taking it all the way to the very end with us. Once again, my name is Sabrina Victoria. I am the host here at Her Talk Show. And I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to lift up each other every step of the way by having conversations just like this one. The links are in the